Hi there people, how you doing? So, today we have the complete comparison between the OnePlus 8 Pro and Note 20 Ultra. Now, obviously both of these are regarded as fully fledged flagships, but as many of you already know, they have very different price points. The Note 20 Ultra, it starts at a whopping $1,300, and on the other hand, the OnePlus 8 Pro, it came with a launch price of $900, so a pretty huge difference. And actually, as a matter of fact, in India even more so, because the OnePlus 8 Pro costs a little bit less than that $900 price tag. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I mean, the price difference is huge. So is the Note 20 Ultra actually worth the extra amount of money? Or maybe it's not. Let's find out. And obviously, as usual, we will start off with the design. Now, as I said before, both of these are flagships, so as you'd expect, we get the top tier build quality. Just the overall finish and design, it's fantastic on both. Now, if I were to nitpick between the two, well, the differences are that even though both have a matte finish, the OnePlus 8 Pro has a more satin and more silky finish, while the texture on the Note 20 Ultra's back, it's a little bit more gritty. It's a better texture, and it gives better grip. So, pick your poison. Now, to me, I don't really mind either. I really like both of them actually, because Samsung's first ever matte finish, it's fantastic. OnePlus already does amazing matte finishes, and well, both of them have very good overall design, and we also get IP68 water and dust resistance on both of them. It's actually a first for OnePlus, but yeah, overall, you'd expect very good build quality. You'll get it. And now for these camera modules, well, neither of them helps with wobble on the table. So yeah, you'll get plenty of wobble on both. But yeah, I think that the Note 20 Ultra, it has a little bit more of a bold design with a huge, massive, and very protruding camera module. And in a way, it gives a very good contrast against the matte finish. It looks very nice. I personally like it a lot. Others may not, and it's a personal preference thing. The OnePlus, on the other hand, a simpler design indeed. It's kind of like the same design we had last year. So yeah, you won't see anything new here, but it definitely looks good. That much I can tell you. So yeah, design wise, I would say that both are good, but I just prefer the absolutely squared off edges. It looks very industrial and very unique on the Note. The OnePlus, on the other hand, it has a more common design, and many people will prefer it obviously because rounded edges are easier to grip. But yeah, my preference goes to the Note. Alright, enough about that design. Let's talk about displays, because here's where things get kinda interesting. Now, both of these have very good OLED displays, super bright. The OnePlus has a 1300 nit peak brightness, while the Note 20 Ultra is basically one of the brightest smartphones with 1500 nits of peak brightness. Now, of course, that's most probably during playing back HDR, but nonetheless, the brightness, it gets pretty crazy on both. The design is very similar in terms of the screen because we have the same punch hole cutout. It's just the position of the punch hole that's a little different. The OnePlus has it shifted towards the left while it's centered on the Note. What about the displays themselves? Well, both are very, very good. And I don't think you'll ever be disappointed with just how good the colors are. The contrast is just freaking amazing. I mean, there's no way you'll find any fault as such when it comes to these displays. Now, one place where OnePlus does take a lead over the Note is in resolution at the 120Hz refresh rate. So the OnePlus 8 Pro can do 1440p at 120Hz, and it's not a very distinguishable difference with that high resolution, but nonetheless, it is most definitely a very, very satisfying feeling to have both resolution and refresh rate just completely maxed out. Having 1440p at 120Hz, I don't know, it sets my heart at ease. Many people may not care about it because 1080p at 120Hz on this one, it looks just fantastic. Technically it saves up on some battery, but we'll talk about batteries later on. Now, when it comes to HDR playback, I think things get a little bit more interesting because although the Note 20 Ultra is fantastic with both HDR10 and HDR10 Plus support, and I technically prefer the colors and contrast and overall white balance that this thing has over the OnePlus 8 Pro, but there is one thing that OnePlus has that Samsung doesn't, and that is 10-bit color. Because when it comes to HDR, well, it uses 10-bit color to negate all kinds of artifacting and color banding that you see in the gradients especially, and all kinds of HDR usually utilizes 10-bit color to the fullest. So basically you'll be getting slightly superior colors overall on the OnePlus 8 Pro. And I want to say that almost 80 to 90% of the time I don't see any kind of artifacting, but I've seen some, obviously. But just because the OnePlus 8 Pro is such a lower priced smartphone with such an amazing display with 10-bit color and 1440p at 120Hz, and in a way, just considering the price, the OnePlus 8 Pro could beat the Note 20 Ultra even. But then when we go to the cameras, well, here things get a little intriguing because the Note 20 Ultra, on the spec sheet at least, it has a technically more superior setup here because we have a main camera with 108 megapixels, just a massive sensor, as compared to the 48 megapixel sensor on this one. It's good, but definitely not as big as the 180 megapixel sensor on the Note. But when it goes to zoom, that's where the Note 20 Ultra just takes the lead, because with a 5 times optical zoom, with a 12 megapixel fairly large sensor, it just demolishes the competition almost completely. There are very few phones out there that can compete with just the sheer quality of zoomed in photos that you can get with the Note 20 Ultra. Up to about 20 times zoom, you can get phenomenal photographs, and that's a lot of zoom, let me tell you. So yeah, basically I would say that even in terms of the software, I prefer the Note 20 Ultra. It's not just the hardware, because I think that the Note 20 Ultra produces a lot more natural looking images with, especially in the greenery and stuff like that. It gives a little bit more of a natural tone. And well, the OnePlus 8 Pro, to its credit, although not as natural, it does have very vibrant and high contrast photographs. So if you prefer that look, the OnePlus 8 Pro is the one to go for. But for me, I prefer the natural look, and technically having a slightly lower contrast can make the photo look a little bit better in my opinion, with better shadow detail and a little bit more preserved highlights. So yeah, my preference in terms of photos will go to the Note 20 Ultra. Now what about video? Because here, once again, it's basically the same story, with the colors and contrast levels being a slightly more in my preference on the Note 20 Ultra. But again, if you prefer more contrast and you prefer more, vividness, then yeah, sure, OnePlus can do a very good job. It has very high quality video. So yeah, overall, my preference goes to the Note, both photos and videos, because of just how consistent and natural the look of both of them are. But yeah, you could choose the OnePlus for its vibrant and high contrast look, and you'll be satisfied with it if that is what you like, of course. If you don't, then yeah, be warned. This one will give you very vibrant and it's almost like edited photographs. That's how it'll look. Alright, now performance and battery life, and here's where the Note 20 Ultra I have is just gonna dip out, because the Note 20 Ultra here is the Exynos version, and as many of you already know, the Exynos version is trash when it comes to basically performance and good battery life. The efficiency is very bad on this one, because as compared to the Snapdragon 865 we have here, the battery life turns out to be slightly better on the OnePlus 8 Pro with 1440p at 120Hz. So that just goes to show that efficiency of the chipset matters a lot. And the Note 20 Ultra, it just doesn't have a good chipset, at least as compared to the Snapdragon counterpart, because technically the Note 20 Ultra Snapdragon versions have an 865 Plus, an upgrade over what the OnePlus 8 Pro has. So yeah, without a doubt, if you can get the Snapdragon version, you'll get a far better experience than I have had. But if you get the Exynos version, well, I'd suggest staying away from it, because this year is just not the right one for Exynos. So with that said, obviously battery life is not as impressive as it could be. The performance, not even close. So yeah, easy win for the OnePlus 8 Pro here, simply because it has the right chipset, the right flagship chipset. Now what about software? Because it's kind of difficult to compare these two, because OnePlus, on one hand, very stock-like experience with a good, fair amount of customizability, while One UI on this one, it's not a stock-like experience, admittedly, but a highly customizable and very good experience overall, with one-handed mode being a huge hit on this one in my opinion, because I just love one-handed mode on this. With such a huge phone, it makes sense to have that kind of mode built into the normal apps at least. Other third-party apps, obviously they won't have it, but at least like overall in the full UI, it's very easy to navigate with one hand. On the OnePlus, we have no such thing, but you know what we do have on the OnePlus? We have a Google feed if we were to swipe right. I legit have no idea why Samsung doesn't have Google Feed, because that is like such an amazing feature. I mean, sure, I could just tap the Google icon and I'll have my feed waiting for me there, but I want it to be right there when I swipe right. It's easier, convenient, and universal. It makes sense to be there. I don't know why Samsung hasn't implemented it, but it's just disappointing that we don't have it. Now, of course, I would end the comparison there because we have compared all of the finer details here, and yeah, the fingerprint scanner. It is faster on the OnePlus, but more convenient on the Note because we have to just tap once while we have to wake up the screen on the OnePlus and then tap it. So yeah, you'll get a very similar experience in terms of the time taken to unlock the device, but well, if you're just strictly speaking about speed, the OnePlus does feel a tad faster, but other than that, not a huge difference. So yeah, technically, the OnePlus 8 Pro is going to be a better buy with a slightly better display in some way, and a very good capable camera, although I prefer the Note, and performance battery life just hands down being amazing on the OnePlus, while it's not that great on the Exynos version of the Note 20 Ultra. So yeah, end of the day, the OnePlus would have been a winner for me. I would have been using this without having any complaints whatsoever. But there is something that the Note 20 Ultra has that basically no other phone on the planet does. At least I think it doesn't. So it's the S Pen, as you would have guessed already, because to me, since I'm an artist, it is a very important tool, because being able to create artworks anywhere, anytime, just on my phone, I mean, that is a commodity that I'm never gonna willingly give up. And the OnePlus, as good as a smartphone it is, just because it doesn't have that S Pen, I'm gonna stick with the Note. I'm not gonna switch over to the OnePlus 8 Pro. Although from a technical standpoint and from a price standpoint, the OnePlus 8 Pro is a better device. But the Note 20 Ultra, because of its S Pen, is gonna be my daily driver. And that's what I'm trying to drive home here, because the S Pen, if it is important to you, only then will the Note 20 Ultra be of real value, because only then will it be worth it. If you're not someone who's going to use the S Pen, or maybe you don't like the S Pen or whatever, then just trust me, go for the OnePlus 8 Pro. It'll be a much better normal smartphone. This one on the other hand, I mean, to me it's a sketchpad. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.